I'm Ryan and I'm back again, already with another Ryan Sports Reviews, but today I am doing, on the last day of the decade, I am doing the Toronto FC Team of the Decade video because I've wanted to do this for the past week, but I've had horrible sleep schedule, and I finally got my sleep back, and then I was going to do the Music City Bowl yesterday, but then Moorhead screwed that up so bad, I was like, you know what? No, not in a million years I don't want to do that. And I didn't really want to do this because I was watching Raw. The point being is it shouldn't really have been the last day of the decade I did this video. It should have been about a week ago, but things happen. But it's still happening before 2020 hits. So, yes. And your comments will be in the podcast, my first episode of the podcast tomorrow. My new podcast on Podbean and SoundCloud and all that. Ryan Anderson, North American Footy Podcast. Check it out. I'll put it on my Twitter, just like everything else. Your comments will be on the podcast, because I know people are going to disagree. It'll be a whole segment. So, let's start. In goal, with the starting 11, then there'll also be a bench. In goal, Quentin Westberg. Why? Because out of every goalkeeper this team has had in the decade, he's been the most consistent, and he's a permanent signing. I was going to put Julio Cesar there, but somebody told me that I shouldn't do that because he was only here for 7 games and there was no way he was going to stay, even though if we did somehow get him to stay, Bono would have never been a thing, and Quentin Westberg, well, he probably wouldn't have been a thing either. But if there was somebody who was a thing, it would have gave Quillen time to develop, and it would have been a whole nother story. But Clint Irwin, not consistent, trash. Fry, he wasn't as good as he is now. That's why we got rid of him. Konopka, no. Bendick, no. Bono, yeah, he won us a cup, but I'll get to him when we get to the bench because he's going to be on the bench. He's our second best keeper, whether we like it or not. I'll get to him then. Yeah, I gave away one of the... But you knew he was going to be there. You know I don't like Clint Irwin, and you know somebody would have got angry if I put Julio on the bench, so you know I was up the creek without a paddle on that one. But Quentin Westberg, the best keeper of the decade, and I think maybe not the best, but the most consistent. He is actually a good keeper in this league. He's on the level of a Zach Steffen. He may be older, but on the level of Zach Steffen, Luis Robles, Ramondo, Guzan, Manon. He's on that level, and that's what I want. Alex Bono is not. Clint Irwin, no. Fry, he is now. He wasn't back in the early days of the decade. He was showing flashes, but he wasn't what he was, or he is. Now let's get to the parts that are a little bit more probably agreeable. Left back. It's a 4-3-3, by the way, because that's the preferred formation right now. Left back, Justin Morrow. Not much to say. Best 11 in 2017. Great defender, great attacking, also great defensively. He could do it all. Sometime may have been the GOAT in a bad way, like the Chicago Cubs way this year, but he couldn't have done nothing about that own goal. But he's done so much great over the past decade, since 2014 at the club. Since 2014, I can't hold that own goal against him. And if I did, I look stupid. I'm not reactionary, okay? Justin Morrow, definitely on the 11 at the left back position. The center halves, Chris Mavinga and Omar Gonzalez. And people are going to be like, okay, what about Drew Moore? This is also taking into the fact what their talent level is. And if they've been in the league before, I'm sure they would have done that good on our team, Gonzalez, that they probably would have been the same in the 11 if they played their whole MLS careers with Toronto. Mavinga is great. He's great. No question. He's at least, I'd say, Serie A level defender. I like Chris Mavinga. Yes, he makes mistakes, but he's a good defender. Just hopefully those mistakes don't cost us, but they sometimes do, and you know it's going to happen. You make your peace with it, but besides those mistakes, he's a very great defender. He acts brainless at times, but if to have his quality, you live with it. And hopefully it doesn't bite us, but it sometimes does. You live with it. Omar Gonzalez, staunch center back. I think Omar Gonzalez is one of the best center backs in MLS all time. And to get him to shore up our back line, he may have been more of a signing for the 2020s, but he made an instant impact in the 2010s, 2019. And he basically pushed us to the playoffs. So you can be like, okay, though. Laurent Simon put us through the playoffs in 3 rounds. Omar only played the MLS Cup. Yeah, but he wasn't at fault for any of the goals. And it wouldn't have been as more of a... Like, the run that Toronto had was pull it out of their butt. Pull the rabbit out of the hat. If Omar was playing, which he could have in the Eastern Conference Final and the Eastern Conference Semi, it wouldn't have been pulled the rabbit out of the hat. It would have looked pretty definitive. And that would have probably put a different tone to it. But I wouldn't change it the way it went. But Omar put us into the playoffs and gave us the chance to have that run. And if you would have been part of the MLS Cup run more than just the MLS Cup, it would have been more than just pull it out of the hat. It was a definite run. It would have been if Omar had started all 4 games. But he's staunch. He made the defense better, which is something they definitely needed, considering the offense. It's kind of like the Patriots now. They can't fully outscore the defense's problems because they're a little bit anemic at times. Well, that's what Omar fixed and Westberg fixed, but Omar also helped fix that. So he deserves to be here. But don't worry, you'll be happy when you hear the bench for you more lovers. I know I'm giving it away, but come on. I'm not reactionary. Right back, Steven Beitashour. A man from the 2017 treble team who left for LAFC after the treble. Steven Beitashour deserves to be on the 11. I think he's better than Auro. I think he's better. He may not be better than Richie Larea, but he's on level with him. What I wish we kept Beitashour, or maybe got him cheaper back again, and maybe moved Larea to the left or Auro to the left, just in case Morrow needs more cover than just Ashton Morgan, or we need to switch and maybe Morrow drops down and regresses. Yeah, but Steven left. He wanted more money. He got it with LAFC. I can't fault him. I still like Steven Beitashour. He's a good player. Sorry, Galaxy fan friends. I know I have them. I still like Steven Beitashour, and I still like Mark Anthony Kaye. Fight me. It's not being mean to you. It's just the way it is. I still like Mark Anthony Kaye. I still like Steven Beitashour. It's not against you. It's just the way it is. Look at what he's done in his... Now, Mark Anthony Kaye is Canadian. But he did start in TFC's academy. And I thought he had potential back then. Then they let him go to Louisville, and then he ended up with LA. But I still liked Mark Anthony Kaye back when he was part of TFC. But he's a Canadian international. He's proved the people who doubted him wrong, and I'm fine with that. So, sorry, LA Galaxy fan friends. I know you're going to watch this video. I know I have some of you. Don't hate me for saying I still like Beitashour and Mark Anthony Kaye. Now, the midfield. Central defensive midfielder, Michael Bradley. He had to be here. He had to be here. He was the man who changed our philosophy, who changed our culture to where it is today. The reason we've won all these cups is because of the culture change and trophies. It's because of the culture change. It's because of Michael Bradley. Has he cost us a couple? Yes. But did he cost too much in hindsight for the past 2 years? Yes. But is he on a price point that I agree with now? Yes. Is he a quality player? Yes. Does he deserve to be here? Yes. Does losing 2 penalty shootouts because of him count against him? I'm still hurt by it, but in this sense, no. Michael Bradley deserves to be here. There ain't much to say about him. And this may run over 10... Well, it is running over 10 minutes, but whatever. Even if now Instagram TV, if I wanted to post that here or that there, it's over 20 minutes now. So. But that's not the point. Central midfielder. kind of like a Conte in a way. Victor Vasquez. Again, I said this is a 4-3-3. I had to make it work. Victor Vasquez has to be here. The missing piece. Reason we won the treble in 2017. Was a great playmaker for the team in 2017. Was also great in 2018 when he wasn't in the treatment room. I can't say that this team would have been... I think they would have been pretty even better if he would have somehow stayed and not gone to Al Arabi in Qatar. But he did. But if he'd stayed, this team would have been even better. Will we have gotten Pozuelo? I don't know. But that's not the point right now. So, Vasquez, I miss him. I think he was a great player this decade. He still would have been if he had stayed. If he had stayed. I don't think Victor should have left. But I hope he comes back to be a coach, which it kind of seems like, academy coach after he retires, which kind of seems what's going to happen. And I hope he teaches those academy kids well. Because he's got a lot of knowledge that I'm sure he can pass on to those kids and make them better. And actually have a good amount of our academy kids actually become part of our team instead of just being flops. Don't boo me, it's true. Besides Ashton Morgan and Jacob Schaffelberg, well, and Tsubasa Endo, you know it's true. You know it's true. Center midfielder, Sebastian Giovinco. They're both kind of cams, in a way, in this situation. Pushed up over Bradley, but behind the wingers. And the striker, Sebastian Giovinco, he has to be here. 2015, madness. Came over, started just bagging goals and assists for fun. Won the MVP in 2015. 2016, I'd say he was still on the pace, but he couldn't re-win the MVP in 2016 or 17, even though I'd say he deserved it. But God knows MLS doesn't really want to give the MVP to players twice or 3 times in a row, even if they deserve it. It's whoever gets the biggest media. I mean, their performances have to agree with it, but the media is a big part of it. Look at Carlos Vela, or Diego Valeri. Okay, that was maybe the last pure performance one, actually. I like Diego Valeri. He's played for the Portland Timbers, but I gotta admit, I like Diego Valeri, and he's probably the last pure performance one, because Joseph, performance, but a media agenda. Same with Vela. Next year, I guarantee you, if Pozuelo doesn't get the media agenda, he ain't gonna get it. But I can guarantee you from the performance, he's gonna get the MVP. Performance-wise, he should get it. I don't know if he's gonna get the media agenda next year. That's a little bit of a prediction. But we're talking about the past decade. Not even we're talking about the whole decade, not just 2019. But yeah, Giovinco, with what he's done for this club, and the fact that he's still rumored to maybe come back, which I'd rather have him over Bruma, especially after hearing some scoops from a fellow TFC Twitter account saying that every time Bruma gets a knock on the pitch, he wants to go off. You know, I don't want Bruma. He doesn't sound that good to me. I'd rather them keep Benazet or go back for Giovinco, or get El Shaarawy because of the new China rules, having a salary cap on foreign players. Get me El Shaarawy if you can't get Giovinco. Come on. Something like that, please. But the fact that people want him back is a testament to what Giovinco was for this club and what he still is. He's a star. He's won us the whole lot. Great performances. He has to be here. Right wing, Alejandro Pozuelo. Well, he played as a winger for the system because Vanny had to play him as a winger. It counts. See, I'm trying to cheat this a little bit. But Pozuelo, this is kind of projecting as well because that's what I like to do. I think he's going to become Mr. Toronto. I really do. He's going to be here for a long time. And he did what he did with having no rest this year. 14 goals. And I think 14, he was equal. 14 goals, 14 assists. Yeah. He's going to do better next year. He's going to do better next year. And trust me when I say this, he is going to blow the league's doors off next year and after next year. He is going to be here for a long time. You know how Tony Gwynn was Mr. Padre? He was like the first big name for that team. I know there's been more big names, but like the first big name who stayed for a long time, building their career in one place. I know Pozuelo's made a couple of moves, but he's kind of ruined his Europe career by going to Toronto, but he's got so much quality, I don't care. He deserves to play in Europe, but hey, he's here. I love it. Alejandro Pozuelo is Mr. Toronto in the vein of a Tony Gwynn. And yes, I got a cover of a Tony Gwynn song for Alejandro Pozuelo when he retires. You know, Hey Hey Number 19 by Steve Poltz. Yeah, I'm just waiting. Because Alejandro Pozuelo will be at that level by the time he retires. Trust me. 100 goals for the team. I'm projecting again, but damn it, I'm going to project. 100 goals, probably 70 assists, about 300 caps for the team. Trust me, he's going to be here for a while. A long time. And that's why Pozuelo's here. Because of the performance for this year, but the fact that he's going to be a mainstay for a long time. And he deserves to be on this list. Now, here's the other winger that's going to piss everybody off. I think the second thing that's going to piss everybody off. Nicola Benezet at left wing. If he stayed, I don't think it would piss people off. He isn't, though. And I'm also trying to fit the formation. I don't know if Oso would be a winger. And people are like, aren't you the guy with the Oso propaganda? What the heck? As I said, I don't think he'd be a winger. But, he's on the bench. But people ain't happy with that. Because Benezet basically burned his bridge recently. And that'll be on the podcast, too. I'll talk about the Benezet situation. I hope he stay. I wish he'd stay. I hope he'd take a lower contract. He sure as hell ain't. But I think Nicola Benezet is a great player. Nicola Benezet is a great player. He deserves to stay here. He deserves to. He's got talent for days. This was a little bit of projecting before Benezet ran his mouth, but as well. But he had a good season this year. I really start getting invested in the lone players for some reason, like Hansen and Benezet and Cooper. Yeah, that happens to me. I don't know why. I really shouldn't. I should learn by now not to do that. But I'm like, oh, they'll come back for another season, or maybe like Armando Cooper did. No, they don't. I need to learn. Oh, Gilberto as well. Well, he wasn't really alone. They just really offloaded him after a season because of Seba and Josie. But in the sense, he wasn't here long. But you get my point. I need to stop. Benezet's a good player. I wish he'd stay, but he's not. And I'll take hate for this one. I can't defend it. Striker Josie Altidore. He won us an MLS Cup. He's clutch every time he steps on the pitch. Even when we're losing, he'll get us one back. MLS Cup 19. 2 of our 3 MLS Cup goals have came from Josie Altidore. He deserves to be here. Oh, and he put us in the MLS Cup. Clutch. Clutch. Great striker, clutch. The only bad thing about him is he gets hurt all the time. But what can you do? We should have got Lucas Cavallini, but Bradley holding it up, that was his fault. And then the Whitecaps had to go and make a meme, not referencing me, but basically referencing how I felt. The one with the sneering cat, yeah, that was because of me. Let's be honest here. TFC Twitter, I'm a big voice. Whatever I say is probably going to be heard as the zeitgeist. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but it's the truth. The subs. Alex Bono. As I said, he's going to be in the subs bench. He won us a cup, but he's put his career in the mud for the past 2 seasons. So, it is. I can't defend it. He's had a horrible past 2 seasons. I don't care that he's won us a treble. Well, he really only won us 2 of the trophies. But I don't care. Yeah, he won us a treble in 2017. That's the reason you're on the bench. What have you done for me lately? You have became a nothing. Nothing. You're lucky that somebody would probably snap off at me for putting Julio Caesar on the bench. You really think I was going to put Clint Irwin there, or Joe Bendick, or Konopka, or Fry? No, maybe knowing what I know now, I'm going to put Fry there, but nobody was going to agree with that one. No. You're only here because of how bad our goalkeeping position has been for the whole decade until recently, and the fact that Julio Caesar never stayed and never made you a nothing. That you are, never put you in a position that you never would happen to this club. Okay, so your name's in the history book. That's why you're on the subs bench. You're nothing. You are nothing. Simply nothing. I don't care that you won a treble. You've went to whatever happened to you, go. But you're on the bench. Just because of how shambolic our goalkeeping position has been up until recently. You're not even worse than Clint Irwin. What is going on here? He's the only one I'm going to slate on the bench, though. Drew Moore, great defender, got a little bit old. Got a lot of injuries, regressed, but when he was here early on, he made us a good defensive team to where we were good enough to make the playoffs and make 2 MLS Cups. 2016, but he also had a sort of big role in the 2017 run, so deserves to be on the bench, I'd say. Richie Larea also on the bench as a defender, because I think Richie Larea is better than Alro. He should be starting over Alro. And he is a great right back. And I think he has the tools to go to Europe someday. And you saw that this year. He got turned into a great player after having 2 bad performances. He didn't quit. He trucked on. He became a great player, and I'm happy for him. I like it. On the bench also, Benoit Cheroux. Basically because he was a good backup CDM to Bradley, and also the fact he put us into the 2016 MLS Cup with that great header. Good man, good player, good for what he did. Yeah, Benoit Cheroux deserves to be here. On the subs bench as well, Jonathan Osorio. If it wasn't a 4-3-3, he'd be a starter. And 2018 was his best season, but he's always been sort of consistent throughout the decade besides 2018. I thought he would have done pretty close this year, but he turned on as the season ended. He had anemia He had anemia this season, which was a reason for his lower performance up until recently. I think it was anemia. Like iron deficiency anemia, like that. I think that's what it was. I think the word was anemia. I'm not a doctor, I'm a talking head. I'm not a doctor, I'm a talking head. So, whatever. Also on the bench, Tsubasa Endo. Because he's a good player. I think he's a good winger. He's a good midfielder. He should have got more of a chance than he ever had, but he showed why he deserved a chance this year. I hope he keeps on playing well next year. Tsubasa on the bench for the team of the decade. And finally, the last sub at striker, Dwayne De Rosario. Because he played here for 2 seasons during the decade, 2 or 3. 2014, 2010, and I think 2011. The check signing gesture was... Point being is he played here in the decade, and he deserves to be on the list. Because D-Ro is a legend. He's a club legend. He was a good striker for the club. He played here in the decade. Maybe his best performances weren't really in this decade. It was earlier on, but deserves it anyway. And it's my team of the decade squad. So I'd say what I want. So, if you like the video, like it, share, subscribe. You know what it is. Tell all your friends. That's the team of the decade. And since Toronto didn't put theirs out, I'm going to say mine is the true TFC team of the decade. If you have anything you want to say about it, put it in the comments. Put it in the Reddit comments. It will be in the podcast tomorrow because I have a little bit of a debating mood going on. So, you know what it is. I'm Ron, and I'm out. Peace. Happy New Year.